23-year-old Harmohinder Sanghera of Manchester, England, allegedly murdered Sana Ali on May the 11th of 2007 after discovering she was not only married to her lover, but also pregnant with their first child. After confronting the victim at her home, Sanghera was believed to have stabbed Ali 43 times with a 6.5-inch kitchen knife. She was sentenced in 2007 to life in prison after being found guilty of murder in what seemed like an open and shut case. However, years after the verdict was handed down, she continued to claim her innocence, recruiting several high-profile supporters, including former UK Chief Prosecutor Nazir Afzal. The latter, who'd worked for the Crown prosecution for 24 years, became convinced that Sanghera couldn't have committed the murder for several reasons. Firstly, Sanghera hadn't been tracked down by police officers, but rather contacted the authorities herself after hearing of Ali's death, openly telling detectives about her visit to the victim. Additionally, the clothes she'd worn on the day of the murder, which were identified by detectives after reviewing a gas station security camera, had no traces of the victim's blood on them. The recording also showed her acting calmly, with no visible signs of having been involved in a struggle. Lastly, the victim's front door had been locked from the inside, and though the prosecution claimed Sanghera had escaped through a narrow kitchen window, Afzal was able to refute this theory. As of December of 2022, however, no appeals had been accepted by the court and Sanghera remained incarcerated. Number 7. Michelle Gazer. Between February and April of 2010, Michelle Gazer hired 3 hitmen to murder her lover's wife, Yvonne Stern. The latter's husband, Jeffrey, allegedly orchestrated the plan along with his mistress, although charges against him were eventually dropped due to a lack of evidence. 39-year-old Gazer paid 3 men to murder 54-year-old Stern, with each attempt reportedly failing. The first hitman drove by the couple's house in Hudson, Texas, and opened fire but didn't confirm whether the intended victim was home. The second attack was in March when Nuit Nguyen rang Stern's front door and fired inside as she approached. The bullet struck the floor, missing the woman entirely. Stern subsequently decided to move to an apartment with her 2 children while her husband secured their house. In May, Damian Flores successfully shot Stern in the stomach as she sat in her car. She played dead until the gunman left the scene, at which point she managed to get help by driving to a nearby gas station. Although the victim's husband admitted to having an affair with Gazer, he denied any involvement in the attempts against his wife's life. Gazer agreed to cooperate with the police, providing information about the murder plots as well as the 3 hitmen. In exchange for her cooperation, she was offered a plea deal and sentenced to 20 years behind bars. Stern stood by her husband's side, refusing to believe he had any involvement in the crimes, stating during an interview that he was brilliant and that if he'd planned her murder, he wouldn't have failed. She was disappointed by the prosecution's deal with Gazer, which she called laughable. In a surprise twist of events, Gazer filed a lawsuit against her former lover and purported accomplice, claiming he'd used grooming and emotional manipulation to convince her to orchestrate the attempted murders for hire. Number 6. Therese Ziman. Wisconsin woman Therese Ziman of Menasha conspired with her sister, Wendy Soul, her lover's wife, Tracy Hood Davis, and fellow mistress, Michelle Beliveau, to punish her boyfriend, Donessa Davis, on July the 30th of 2009. 48-year-old Ziman was directly contacted by Hood Davis after she discovered that her husband had been engaging in several extramarital affairs. Ziman led then 37-year-old Davis to a motel room where she blindfolded and restrained him before texting the other 3 women. Although the perpetrators claimed they'd only planned to confront the victim about his infidelity, they ended up gluing his genitals to his stomach. Davis suffered no permanent physical damage but was belittled and verbally abused by all 4 women during the trial. The conspirators apologized for their actions, with Ziman stating that she hadn't meant to harm Davis and that her actions had been a stupid spur-of-the-moment decision. All 4 women were sentenced to 1-year probation as well as community service on February the 2nd of 2010. Judge Donald Poppy acknowledged he would have probably given the male assailant a harsher sentence, admitting to a potential double standard. Number 5. Zatoun Bibi. Secretly divorced English couple Gul Nawaz and Zatoun Bibi convinced their teenage son Kashim Nawaz to help them strangle Bibi's lover on January the 30th of 2016. The woman had met shop owner Tanvir Iqbal in 2003, after which they sparked up a romantic relationship. When Nawaz discovered his wife's extramarital activities, he demanded a divorce, but the couple kept the separation a secret to avoid a scandal. Iqbal's wife was also aware of the affair, which lasted for nearly 13 years. However, after Bibi sent her an explicit video in an attempt to end the marriage, Iqbal broke up with his mistress instead. Furious, Bibi enlisted her estranged husband's help to take revenge on her former lover. Furthermore, the Birmingham couple manipulated their son into assisting them in the murder. After police discovered Iqbal's body stuffed into a TV box in the trunk of his car, Bibi quickly became the prime suspect. Security footage revealed that Gul had purchased cleaning supplies and a rope shortly before the murder, and the 3 conspiring family members were recorded entering the home an hour before the arrival of Iqbal, who'd been invited by Bibi under a false pretense. After the 3 culprits were arrested, Bibi attempted to blame her former husband for the attack, pressuring their son into testifying against his father. Phone call transcripts detailing their murder plot were used against her in court. In September of 2016, Bibi was sentenced to 27 years to life, while her ex-husband would be eligible for parole after serving 25 years. The couple's son was sentenced to a minimum of 6 years behind bars. Number 4. Kaylee Reid. 26-year-old English woman Kaylee Reid posted her boss and former lover's nude pictures online. On October the 5th of 2016, after being fired from her job in Ipswich, Reid worked at Affinity Trust, a charity dedicated to aiding people with learning disabilities, where she met 30-year-old Robert Page. They began exchanging intimate text messages after Reid broke up with her boyfriend, but her relationship with Page ultimately came to an end when he got married to Tara Linser, aged 29. Page fired her soon after, claiming that her anxiety and depression had been affecting her job performance. Reid decided to take revenge by posting 2 nude pictures of her former boss to his wife's work Facebook page. Reid later revealed how she'd felt her boss had exploited her naivete into sparking up an intimate relationship, and that posting his photographs had been a way of trying to have her voice be heard. She pleaded guilty to disclosing private photographs with the intent to cause distress, which became a prosecutable offense in the UK in 2015. As part of her plea deal, Reid was sentenced to 6 months conditional discharge and ordered to pay a victim surcharge fee of $20. It was reported that she could have potentially faced up to 2 years behind bars for the crime. Number 3. Amy Elizabeth Fisher. On May the 19th of 1992, New York teenager Amy Elizabeth Fisher attempted to murder her lover's wife. Fisher, a resident of Long Island, had met 35-year-old body shop owner Joseph Buttafuoco in 1990 and had purposefully damaged her car several times in order to see him. When he decided to end their subsequent affair, she became obsessed with him, eventually plotting to murder his 37-year-old wife, Mary Jo. With the help of salesman Peter Guagenti, the latter allegedly drove Fisher to her lover's home, where she deceptively told his wife that he'd been romantically involved with a fake younger sister, instead of confessing to her own affair with the man. After Mary Jo angrily told her to leave, Fisher shot her in the head. The wounded woman was rushed to the hospital, where she underwent a complicated, life-saving surgery. Though she managed to survive, doctors were unable to remove the bullet from her head. During an interview with police, Joseph Buttafuoco told detectives that his mistress might be to blame for the attack. His wife positively ID'd Fisher after recovering consciousness. Fisher was charged with attempted first-degree murder, but agreed to a plea deal in exchange for a lesser sentence on September 23rd of 1992. She ultimately spent 7 years in prison for aggravated assault. In 1993, Buttafuoco pleaded guilty to criminal charges in connection to the fact that Fisher had been underage at the time of their involvement. He received a 4-month prison sentence of his own after being paroled in 1999. Fisher began working as a writer and adult film actress. Today's topic was requested by Nicole Wilson, Strange Kinda Artist, and Rah36. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Sarah Parker. 24-year-old Sarah Parker and her lover, Logan Kyle, were arrested on October the 21st of 2018 on suspicion of murdering the latter's wife. Police were alerted by an anonymous tip that a woman was driving around a car with a corpse in the trunk. When they subsequently pulled over Parker, who was accompanied by Kyle as well as her 2 children, officers discovered Shalina Kyle's body in the back. After being taken into custody, Logan, a 22-year-old active duty soldier, broke down during questioning and confessed to killing his wife alone, claiming that his lover was only helping him dispose of the body. Logan had allegedly been dealing with gender dysphoria and claimed his wife had threatened to tell his commanding officers about it, prompting the soldier to fatally strangle her in the bathtub. He was sentenced to life in prison on June the 4th of 2019. Parker, meanwhile, was charged with failure to report a homicide and obstruction of justice. Her children were removed from custody by social services. She claimed Logan had threatened to hurt both her and her children unless she helped him dispose of Shalina's body. Number 1. Ailsa Jackson. On November the 14th of 2014, Ailsa Jackson, aged 24, murdered her lover's wife, 38-year-old Kathy Walker, at the couple's home on the Aliamanu military reservation in Hawaii. Mike Walker, an army medic, claimed to have discovered his wife's dead body after completing a shift. Her throat had been brutally slashed. It would take police 5 months to arrest their main suspect, Jackson, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Though Walker wasn't initially charged for his wife's murder, detectives were able to recover enough evidence to charge him with first-degree murder along with Jackson. He agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Jackson, who was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, had been unable to get her medication due to a lapse in her health insurance, which allegedly left her vulnerable to manipulation. On February the 10th of 2020, she was sentenced to 30 years behind bars. Thanks for watching. Would you rather find out your spouse is cheating on you or that you only have 10 years left to live? Let us know in the comments section below.